I want to talk about beliefs. We've got two questions. One is, why do humans have them? And the second is, how do they work? A belief is a mechanism. And I think that psychology is unable to answer either of these questions, the why question and the how question. So that's what I want to tackle today. I believe that a belief is a logic mechanism. Specifically, beliefs are all tautologies, and the tautology is constructed in a way that it makes it feel like it is a logical conclusion. This is why beliefs are so rigidly held by their believers. So, how does this tautology arise? Well, I want to start by discussing a very fundamental human need, which is the need to belong. You need to belong to a family, to a society, to a tribal group, to a street gang, whatever it is that makes you feel that you are a part of your community, that you have a peer group, whatever that peer group might be. You need to belong to something. And the simplest way for you to achieve that is for you to impersonate the behaviour of the people in that group. That is how you become accepted by them, how you identify yourself as being a part of them, and how they accept you and how you feel that you belong. That behaviour can come in a number of different forms. It can include gestures, hey, or it can include forms of greeting, high five. But also in the mix, there are going to be elements of emotional behaviour. And if a particular group is going to gather momentum, in other words, the group is going to grow, then it has to demonstrate that it causes human well-being. And the way you demonstrate that is that you affect positive emotion and you suppress negative emotion. So, as part of this structure, if a belief system is going to recruit new members, then it has to be better to be in it than out of it. And for it to be demonstrably better to be in it, the people in it have to be happier than the people who are not in it. So let's just talk about a very obvious feature, which is that this creates a situation where I might be impersonating your behaviour at the same time that you're impersonating my behaviour. That is, on the face of it, circular causality. But let us also now talk about what it is that's making us doing that. So to do that, I'm going to invent an ideology. If I use a real belief system, I'm going to offend half my audience and make the other half feel very smug. So to avoid that, we're going to invent an ideology, and I'm going to call it being a cool kid. And a cool kid, it could be like being a hipster or being a mod or a rocker. It's just some form of social group that has a defined membership, well, rather maybe not a defined membership, but you're either in it or you're not in it. It has a certain ethos. It might have a certain political ideology. People within that group might be left-leaning or right-leaning. It might involve certain belief systems, certain subsidiary belief systems. But the point is that I want to be a cool kid because being a cool kid is better than not being a cool kid. And being a cool kid is demonstrably better than not being a cool kid because cool kids are happier than people that aren't cool kids. So we have this situation where, because I want to be a cool kid, I have to impersonate the behaviour of other cool kids as a way of making them accept me as a part of their grouping. In that impersonation are elements of emotional behaviour. For being a cool kid to gather momentum, for it to demonstrate that it's better than not being a cool kid, there will be a tendency for that emotional manipulation to include the affectation of positive emotional states and the suppression of negative emotional states. Let's talk about the affectation of positive emotional states. Now, I've discussed this a lot in other videos before, and what I've described previously is that if I'm displaying an emotional behaviour naturally, I'm doing so because of the presence of a particular set of circumstances. Because an emotion is a biological mechanism, the emotion is a response to a particular set of circumstances that occurs in nature. I can give that stimulus a name, a generic name. I can call it the biological stimulus. So when I'm displaying emotional behaviour naturally, I'm doing so because of the presence of the biological stimulus. If I'm affecting an emotional behaviour, I'm doing so because of the presence of what I call the affectation stimulus. There's something that makes me behave that way other than the biological stimulus. We can call that the affectation stimulus. So I am affecting this behaviour because I want to be a cool kid. But that means that the affectation stimulus is the belief system. It is being a cool kid that makes me behave that way. So let's just discuss what this means, how this causes the meaning of happiness or whatever other positive emotional state. How is this changed? I'm affecting a behaviour because I want to be a cool kid. That means that over time it will come to seem to me that being a cool kid makes me feel this emotion. But it is being a cool kid is something I want to do because it's better than not being a cool kid. But it's being a cool kid that makes me behave that way in the first place. This is circular reasoning. I'm behaving this way because I want to be a cool kid. And I want to be a cool kid because being a cool kid is better than not being a cool kid. But it is being a cool kid that makes me display the emotional behaviour that demonstrates that being a cool kid is better than not being a cool kid. So you could say there are a number of different ways we look at this. Being a cool kid causes the evidence that being a cool kid is good, because it's being a cool kid that makes me behave this way. It's logically tautologous to say that being a cool kid causes human well-being, because it's me trying to be a cool kid that makes me demonstrate positive emotional states. So to say that being a cool kid makes me happier is a tautology because it was wanting to be a cool kid that made me pretend to be happy in the first place. So my understanding that being a cool kid makes me happier is actually caused by the fact that wanting to be a cool kid is what makes me behave happy. I'm affecting happiness and creating an illusion. So we've got a logical tautology and we've got causal circularity. A belief system causes the evidence of its own truth. It causes the evidence that being in that belief system is better than not being in that belief system. It is my suggestion that all beliefs work this way. They feel like logical conclusions, and that is why they are so rigidly believed. But that feeling is an illusion. It is caused by the fact that wanting to belong causes you to change your emotional behaviour. You tend to affect positive emotions and suppress negative emotions, which means that believing it makes you feel better. So it is irrefutable to you that believing this enhances your human well-being. That is an illusion. It's caused by you manipulating your behaviour. You're deceiving yourself and you are deceiving your peers, and all of you are doing that together. That is how I think a belief works.